The world of tennis has been shaken up recently with a few different stories. The main one from not too long ago is the fact that the WTA is possibly pulling tennis tournaments from China. What's going on? Well, stay tuned to find out, because we're now about to discuss WTA threatens to pull tennis tournaments out of China over Peng, and other tennis news that has shaken up the world. First up, what's been going on with Peng Shuai? Recently, there has been lots of outcry about Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai's location, and they have been escalating, as the Women's Tennis Association, or the WTA, have threatened to pull out tournaments from China over the sports star's disappearance, and the White House asked Beijing to prove she was actually safe and okay. The former doubles champion Peng Shuai had not been seen in the public eye since she had on social media said that former Vice Premier Zhang Guoli coerced her into certain actions. They later had a relationship that was on and off. Whilst neither Zhang nor the Chinese government had confirmed this relationship, seems like it was true. Peng's social media account and posts were quickly taken down, and the topic was blocked from the discourse on China's social media sites. China heavily censors their internet, so it's no surprise that this happened at all. Next up, what else has been said about this case? Concern amongst some of the world's biggest tennis stars grew over the past few days, and they finally began to come out about the situation. They were also calling for investigation, with the WTA backing everything up with a way to get some information. Some of the world's biggest players also took to social media to talk about the situation, with the hashtag Peng Shuai beginning to trend on Twitter. Even the White House called on Friday for the Chinese government to provide some independent and verifiable proof of where Peng was and information on her safety. Some quotes on social media where "We are deeply concerned by reports that Peng Shuai appears to be missing after accusing a former People's Republic of China senior official of sexual assault," said spokesperson Jen Psaki. French Sports Minister Roxana Makassiani called for transparency. "Our country is deeply committed to the respect of human rights. Transparency is absolutely necessary on accusations of sexual assault, such as the situation of Peng Shuai." She wrote on Twitter on Friday, "We're following this issue closely with the tennis authorities and the Quai d'Orsay. And now, what has China been doing about this situation?" This issue came out just as China has been preparing to host the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing for February next year. This was also amongst calls from global rights groups and others to boycott the country and the event over its human rights records. The International Olympic Committee have also declined to comment on the situation, and have also declined to comment on the location of Peng. They're hoping for some quiet diplomacy for this matter, which people seemingly don't agree with. In a statement to Reuters not long ago, chief of the WTA, Steve Simon, said that they were at a crossroads with China. "We continue to call for independent and verifiable proof that Peng Shuai is safe, and that her sexual assault allegation will be investigated fully, fairly, and without censorship. If not, the WTA is prepared to do what is right," he said. Hu Xing from China's Global Times commented on Simon's comments and said, "Perhaps you did it out of goodwill, but you should understand China, including understanding how the system you dislike has promoted the actual rights of the 1.4 billion Chinese," said Hu, whose newspaper is published by the ruling Communist Party's official People's Daily. "This is really getting out of hand now. Hopefully the situation gets sorted out and Peng Shuai is found to be fine and healthy." Stay tuned for some more tennis news. So, unvaccinated players will not be allowed to compete in the 2022 Australian Open. Some sports personalities are very open about either getting the vaccine or not, but at the end of the day, not getting said vaccine is really hindering what they can and can't do in their sport. So just recently, it's been announced by the tournament director Craig Tiley that the Australian Open will not allow those who are unvaccinated to compete in the tournament. There originally some confusion about what would happen with those who are unvaccinated, but it seems like they have finally cleared the air on the matter. They've also confirmed that the tournament, which runs from the 17th to the 30th of January in Melbourne next year, can be played in front of capacity crowds. Speaking just a few days ago, Novak Djokovic stated that the freedom of choice is essential for everyone. Not just whether it's me or somebody else, doesn't really matter. Whether it's vaccination or anything else in life, you should have the freedom to choose, to decide what you want to do in this particular case, what you want to put in your body. He has publicly stated that he does not want to comment on his vaccination status, so this comment makes so much sense. BBC.co.uk have also stated that latest figures show 80 of the top 100 men's players have now been vaccinated against COVID-19. Nearly 80% of the top 100 women's players have also received the vaccination, with the figure including all the players players who have competed in the singles and doubles at last week's WTA finals in Guadalajara. The WTA Players Council sent a letter to players in October stating it has been told all competitors would be able to travel to Melbourne. The letter also stated that all players, regardless of vaccination status, would have to show proof of a negative test within 72 hours of departure. However, Victoria Premier Daniel Andrews said in October that he did not think an unvaccinated tennis player would be given a visa to enter Australia. And now, what else has Australia been doing? In terms of restrictions, it seems like Australia has some of the strictest travel ones and movements on the planet. This is because the country itself has been relatively COVID-free for a long time now, and they really don't want any more spikes and more cases. They were out of lockdown very early on, and masks weren't mandatory for a long time. Whilst the rest of the world were locked inside and couldn't go anywhere without a mask, Australians were out partying and living life. They've done a hard job to make sure their country has low COVID cases, so all this makes so much sense. Players, support staff, and of course, officials who travel to the country will have to complete a 14-day quarantine period upon their entry into Australia. Many countries are doing this right now, so it just makes sense for such a big event. Some were not allowed to leave their hotel rooms after cases were detected on a few of their flights as well, which led them to practicing in their room with a makeshift setup. England's men's cricket team, who were also in Australia for Ashes, also spent time in quarantine, but in a Gold Star resort, so it wasn't all bad for them. And finally, we have Alexander Zverev beating Daniil Medvedev to win the ATP Finals title. Some amazing news just came out. It looks like Alexander Zverev has won the ATP Finals and taken home the title. I had to play one of my best matches, Zverev said after his 6th title of the year that included Olympic gold. I'm super thrilled and super happy right now. There's no better way to end the season than to win here. Zverev, who beat world number 1 Novak Djokovic on Saturday, became the 4th player to beat the top players in the world in the semifinals and final of this prestigious tournament, and the first since Andre Agassi in 1990. It also looks like Zverev is looking ahead of 2022 already, as he has said something on the matter. He stated that, "I'm obviously incredibly happy, but I'm also very much looking forward to next year already. Because Roger Federer and Nadal were absent from the tournament because of an injury, both Zverev and Medvedev were amongst those players, showing that tennis still has such a bright future ahead of itself, even if those legends step aside." For a long time, tennis has been in its glory days. So many of the top tennis stars to ever exist are still playing right now. And once they've gone, people will be hoping for a bright future. It's great to see that another generation of greats is on the horizon and are ready to step in whenever the current legends retire from the sport. And that's the end of the video. Hopefully all goes well with Peng Shuai. It would be awful for China to be taken away from tennis tournaments in the future. We would lose lots of talented people, but if they actually have done something with Peng, it's not going to be great. Whenever she comes out as safe, people are going to be so happy. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments below what are your thoughts. Please make sure to like and subscribe with notifications on. Thanks for watching the video.